It is a strange feeling to watch a multi-million-dollar empire collapse because a kid in a tailored suit thought a piece of paper was just decoration. They called me a relic, a piece of office furniture that had outlived its usefulness. But they forgot that some furniture is structural, and if you yank it out, the whole roof comes crashing down on your head. My name is Clara, and after 12 years of quietly keeping this company legally alive, I became the ghost that broke their machine. For over a decade, I managed the labyrinth of federal compliance, safety certifications, and state licensing that allowed our biomedical supply firm to actually operate. It was grueling, meticulous work that required passing rigorous national board exams every few years. The executives never understood what I did, only that our green light stayed on. I was 45, fiercely organized, and completely invisible until a 30-year-old efficiency consultant named Preston walked through the glass doors with a smug smile. Preston was the classic corporate hatchet man, smelling of expensive cologne and carrying a sleek tablet filled with colorful charts. He looked at my meticulously maintained filing systems and manual tracking logs with open amusement during our first team introduction. He started throwing around empty buzzwords like operational agility and human resource synergy, clearly marking me as his first target for elimination. I knew right then that my years of quiet loyalty meant absolutely nothing to this new regime. That very evening, I went to work preparing for the storm I knew was coming. I downloaded a complete log of my personal federal licensing credentials, all of which were legally tied to my name and social security number. I quietly backed up my private databases and reviewed the golden parachute clause in my original employment contract. Section 8 clearly stated that upon involuntary termination, all professional licenses paid for by the employer would instantly revert to my sole personal custody. Within a week, Preston began his grand campaign of restructuring by forcing everyone to re-interview for their own jobs. It was a humiliating exercise designed to make us beg for the privilege of keeping our desks. When my turn came, Preston barely looked up from his screen, condescendingly telling me that my legacy responsibilities were being transitioned downstream to younger, more adaptable talent. He had already crossed my name off the organizational chart, completely unaware of the trap he was setting. He transferred my complex regulatory duties to an entry-level marketing assistant, who literally did not know the difference between a federal safety audit and a social media campaign. To add insult to injury, Preston stripped my administrative database access and assigned me to reorganize the office supply closets to keep me busy. I did not argue or complain, because I had already quietly used my backup credentials to revoke the corporate portal access from the master terminal. The junior staff began snickering behind my back, mocking my traditional methods while sipping their cold brews in the break room. They genuinely believed that automated software could replace a decade of specialized legal clearance and biometric security signatures. I watched them gossip, feeling a cold calm wash over me as I scheduled a quick lunchtime appointment at a local notary public. I drafted a formal document to voluntarily relinquish my licensing authority the moment my employment officially ended. The axe finally fell on a rainy Monday morning during our mandatory weekly progress meeting. Preston stood before the entire staff, flashing his white teeth as he announced with practiced corporate empathy that my role had been permanently phased out. He handed me a standard termination packet with no severance, expecting me to break down or beg. Instead, I calmly signed the paper, demanded a physical photocopy for my records, and walked out into the rain with a smile. The moment I stepped past the security gates, my signed termination paper triggered the automatic clause in my contract. I logged into the Federal Registry from my personal phone and officially revoked my licensing authority across 3 massive biological distribution channels. Without my active credentials, the company was legally barred from shipping or receiving medical-grade materials. I went home, poured a glass of wine, and turned on the television, letting the silence of my apartment wrap around me. By Wednesday morning, the corporate machinery began to grind to a terrifying halt in my absence. The shipping docks were frozen because vendors refused to release sterile filtration units to an organization lacking a certified safety officer. Preston tried to bypass the system by putting a junior employee's name on the documents, but the federal portal immediately flagged the unauthorized attempt. The entire dashboard turned blood red with system lockouts and severe compliance warnings. The panic in the office escalated into pure chaos when Preston realized he could not simply type over my credentials. A desperate junior manager tried calling my personal phone, but I let it go straight to voicemail while I enjoyed a quiet lunch at a quiet cafe. They had treated me like a useless cog, And now they were realizing that the cog they discarded was actually the main drive shaft of their entire operation. The ultimate reckoning arrived on Friday morning in the form of a surprise federal audit that I had anticipated months in advance. 3 stern inspectors arrived at the front desk demanding to see the registered license holder for our active biomedical contracts. Preston literally ran down the hallway, sweating through his designer jacket as he desperately tried to log into my old account. The help desk calmly informed him that my credentials had been permanently deleted. A longtime colleague named Sarah sent me a frantic text message from the bathroom stall, asking if there was any way to undo the damage. She said the executives were screaming in the conference room, while the auditors threatened to shut down the entire facility. I replied with a simple message, telling her that they had made their choice when they chose efficiency over expertise. I then blocked the number, sat back, and let the professional nail technician paint my nails. On Monday morning, the billionaire CEO, a man named Henderson, returned early from his tropical vacation to find his company on the brink of ruin. He stood in the middle of the chaotic office, looking at the mountain of failed audits and frozen client contracts. When he demanded to know who had authorized my sudden termination, every single manager silently pointed their finger at a pale, trembling Preston. The illusion of his corporate genius had evaporated in less than a week. Henderson read my contract clause on the main screen, realizing that their entire business model was legally dead for at least 6 weeks. He fired Preston on the spot, throwing his tablet into the trash before trying to draft a massive consulting offer to win me back. But some bridges are meant to burn, and no amount of money could make me return to a place that defined my worth by my age rather than my value.